What's up, guys? How's it going? Thank you for joining me. I hope everyone's doing well. So, I'm actually just waiting for James still. He's not arrived yet in the green room. So, yeah, let's just hang about. I'm sure he's doesn't mean to be late. I know he's not long been with his kids and stuff. So, yeah, let's just see what's going on in the chat. Let's see who's here. Hello, Joss. If anyone's got any questions as well while we're waiting, there's been a lot going on in the past few days, so we can chat about that if you want to. Obviously, Lou's announced that he's got this book coming out. Obviously, we've got the Authorization Act, HR 4350, with this proposed UAP office. Oh, he's here. He's here, guys. Without further ado, Mr. James Ian Doley. Hey,
Captain,
brother.
how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, good. Glad to be, man.
Good.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure, man. I had such a positive response from the last one. I thought you're one of the first people I'd want back as a returning guest, so I appreciate you taking the time, man.
Greatly appreciated.
Hey, cool. How's things been, man? I've not really spoken to you much recently. It seems like you've been off the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I've been off the radar. A mix of kids getting back to school, me doing vacation, working on another project that's coming up, and stuff like that.
Good stuff. Keeping busy then.
Yeah. Trying to keep up.
I know it's just suddenly ramped up again in the last few days. I thought we'd kind of jump straight into the kind of current news. What are your thoughts on this kind of announcement that they're looking to put this permanent UAP office in place of the task force?
I think that's what everybody was hoping would be the kind of response from the UAP task force report. So we got there pretty quick. I thought there was actually going to be like a few subsequent reports after the 90 days and 90 days, and then they'll say, "Oh, wait, that we're finding more. Let's do a permanent thing." But the fact that they're already getting to this I think is an indicator of where we're headed.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
So that's pretty incredible that it happened that fast. So I know there's people working behind the scenes, and obviously Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, I'm sure, helped this initiative out.
Yeah, completely, man. And I mean, it seems pretty evident that it's going to all remain classified, all these reports that are going to be coming into that office. But personally, I think that's it's still a great step in the right direction for what might happen further down the line. What do you think?
Yeah. I think people were genuinely concerned about that, and rightfully so, because the kind of idea is like, are we headed towards a new cover-up in a sense of, well, they're going to acknowledge it's real, and then kind of play this game. And there's a lot of people who have different perspectives. Dr. Joseph Burks often talks about the institutions and power structures don't have much to gain for this, where the people of the world do. So it's a tricky one. And I think there are people, again, they're just learning about this for the first time. Those people in Senate and Congress and scientists, look at Eric Weinstein. He's like tripping. He's totally tripping out. And that's how people should be acting. Like, this is real, So like Elizondo said before, you can't give like a 7-course meal in a 1 meal sitting. I think we're witnessing kind of this global epiphany of the UAP reality. And I do think that when people realize this is a completely genuine topic, it's ongoing. There's physical indications of that. It's not just like, oh, there's no physical evidence. It's just these sightings. First of all, radar is physical evidence. I'm sure they have sonar. The photographs are a type of physical evidence. You have eyewitness testimony, possible retrieved materials, which I think are genuine. Again, that's where you're getting into the classified thing, right? How much of that is classified? How much of that will remain classified? For proprietary military interests. That's just the way things work. But I think that when you see all these people, scientists and astronomers and everybody really from every field, look at this as a real thing, people are going to push for more, I think, and that's what we need. It's going to be, I think, a back and forth dance on that kind of thing for a while to come.
Yeah, I agree completely, man. I mean, there's still a lot of people, or there seems to be these two sides still, the kind of the big proponents who are behind it all, who are behind Lou and Chris Mellon, etc. And then are still the people out in the other side of things that still think they're shills for the government, and they have an agenda or a narrative that they're trying to push. So I think, like you said, we'll probably just see that continuing for the foreseeable, the way things are. But I think, and I hope in time, that people will see that it's a good thing what's happening, and that they are playing an important role. So, I mean, Lou's just announced, I think it was today, that he's got this book deal, and I've already seen it going crazy on Instagram and Twitter, and apparently it's going crazy on Reddit. Like,
I'm so psyched. Honestly, I had a feeling it was coming, but I'm thinking like maybe like 10 years down the line it was going to come. The fact that it's coming this soon is awesome. Now, given obviously if he's going to write a book, it has to be reviewed by some kind of intelligence agency, and they have to say this is okay, or to some extent. I know a lot of like former CIA and intelligence people that when they put out a book and stuff, it has to be reviewed.
Yeah.
Now there might be a way he can do that without it being reviewed by them, but he knows the rules and he's kind of gambling on his own. But again, he's got Danny Sheehan to kind of look over the legal stuff, and I think it's going to be a big revelation. I think in that book we're going to hear some new names, maybe. I mean, this is just my own speculation.
Sure.
Like, of key people that he'll probably say, hey, listen, I'm putting this book out, can I mention you? Or maybe he'll go that extra line and just take a roll of the dice and mention people he didn't mention before because he didn't want to. But maybe it's time.
It could well be. And I mean, it says in the article that sort of dropped today that it's going to reveal shocking details. Now, a lot of people have obviously jumped on that thinking it's going to reveal aliens or something huge like that. That's not what that's certainly not what it's doing, but it might still push the ball slightly further down the road and give us a little bit more insight into ATIP and things like that, more so than aliens or something like that.
And again, it's another kind of part of this waterfall or like stampede, right? It's going to spread awareness. It's going to get a lot of exposure. It's HarperCollins. It's a major publisher. Yeah. It's going to be on Barnes and Noble. We assume, we're in the UFO community. We see Lou Elizondo on Fox. In fact, we get prepared to go watch it when he's on. We still got to remember that like 60 or 70% of the public, even though it's been in the news and all, they don't really even know about ATIP yet. That's still like people are still learning about ATIP and Lou Elizondo. And when I'm around and at work or wherever I am, I end up talking about the subject, and there's still people I run into. They're like, "Oh, really? Wow!" Sometimes it takes a personal affiliation for them to really take the information more seriously. So I think there's going to be another media push when his book comes out, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. And again, I think there'll be some details in there that we haven't heard before. I'm sure that.
Yeah, totally, man. And then also we had Lou was over in San Marino for the past few days for the UFO World Symposium. And obviously Max did those 2 live interviews with him, which were fantastic. And then he mentioned this new AI system that's going to be available to everyone by the end of the year that can monitor videos to see if they're real or not. And that sounded incredible. But I think, hadn't we heard something about that coming out of TTSA, I think called Scout? Do you know much about that?
Yeah, it was so, and this Jacques Vallée, proposed the idea of using artificial intelligence to assist with the UAP study in different formats. So this has been kind of a long thing coming. I know Scout was the TTSA version, and then we all saw Lou Elizondo wearing that hat that said Phenom.
Yes.
Maybe there's something to do with that. I really don't know, but I think again, that's another kind of one of these things, right? Where people are going to be like, okay, well now we have civilians collecting intelligence data for, whoever this information is going to, right?
Yeah.
So I could see where that red flag is going to be raised, and people are going to be concerned about that. I do think it is a good thing ultimately, because the more data, again, that I'm assuming that the information is going to be publicly available somehow or some way, so it's not just going to all disappear into some kind of database. I hope that, again, if there's like a good UAP video that comes from there and it's analyzed, it will be publicly posted and said, this system couldn't track out what it was, and this is a true unknown, so it's true identified. This is what makes it a true identified, and that will also help educate the public on how to kind of like better track and how to better identify true anomalies.
Yeah. Sorry. I hope that when it drops and it's available to everyone, that they've thought ahead, because they know that if we the users who are going to be accessing and pushing forward the data, if we don't know where it's going, then they know that it's going to kick off with conspiracies and theories and people really not happy, because like you said, it could just end up in some database that we don't know about. I'd like to think they will release the full transparency on what it's doing, where it's going.
Right. Yeah, something along those lines. And again, I mean, people are going to be less encouraged to use it. I mean, if they have a lot to gain if there's transparency. If you had, like, say, every CE5 or contact working group using this, doing some kind of CE5 method or HICE, human initiated contact event method, trying to track anomalies, that's like the diamond in the rough, really. Obviously, even with that, there's a lot of misidentifications, but I think in my opinion, obviously, I'm a proponent of CE5 or HICE or cognitive human interface. You're gonna that's definitely something you're gonna want to experiment with.
Yeah, totally. So I'm just gonna I just saw a comment as I looked, and it's from my friend Nigel. Hello, Nigel. He's a little late catching up, but he's put, "Nice lab you have there," talking about this. This is actually Tony Stark Industries.
Yeah. Oh, I should have picked that up. Yeah.
I did it just for you, bro.
It was like you had you and Lou. It was like you got Tony Stark, you got the Hulk, and Max is like totally a spinning image of Jean-Claude Van Damme, in his best days. So that is awesome,
brilliant,
man.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
And just quick shout out, Dutch UAP disclosure. Wilfred, thank you so much for the €5 just for all your hard work. So appreciated. It all goes back into the channel. So, it's not just for me to fritter away frivolously. So thank you so much. So just sticking with the World UFO Symposium in San Marino, there's been a lot of talk about it actually falling under the United Nations in the future, so that it can get more countries together for these kind of conferences and stuff, and really bring the whole UAP subject away from the US and from the Pentagon and DOD and more into a European initiative. Do you think that's going to help maybe sway the US a bit more, or what do you think it's going to achieve?
Yeah, I think any kind of pressure is good, and I think that as far as the US, I think they see the writing on the wall, and they're probably going to want to get ahead of things. I do think it is good. Yeah. I mean, the Europeans, look, you had the French, you had the Cometa report.
Yeah. That was
the result in the report, and Leslie Keane, she really helped kind of include that in her book and made it very well known. And, we know Jacques Vallée was part of Japan, and he was helping the CNES in France, the French NASA, to kind of pursue the UAP issue. And so I think that kind of pressure is good. And I know people are going to jump up and assume, like, oh, Vinnie and James, they're new. They don't know that there was talks at the UN with UFOs before in the 70s. Yeah, yes, we do.
We do.
Of course we do. Lee Spiegel, Jacques Vallée, the whole thing. They're having talks. Even Dr. Stephen Greer was talking to people in the UN about the UFO subject in the 90s too. There was interest. It got squashed.
I can understand people thinking that, well, it's happened a few times in the past. Why is it going to work this time?
Exactly.
Well, it doesn't work like that. We've got to, it's a whole new era. There's a whole new, we're in a new place completely within the subject. So yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. Exactly. It's clearly things are different now. Now I know, it's not like this is going to be the answer to our prayers. This is a living process. So we're literally seeing it unfold right before our eyes, and nobody knows what's going to happen. And I'm optimistic in the sense that, even if they're going to say this is going to be classified and this information is being withheld, we have more information than we did before. It might be limited, but again, we're going to have more people pushing for transparency, at least on what is available. And, maybe France or UK or other countries and divisions will be more forthcoming with their data and say, more is coming out about this, so we'll put out what we have. There was a small push like that after the Disclosure Project happened. So after the Disclosure Project happened, a lot of countries started releasing some of their files. Like England did a release, we know that.
Yep.
Although Rendlesham disappeared somehow.
Yes.
Of course. But that's a very interesting and I think important case historically, and I think relatively. I think obviously people are talking about materials from Rendlesham, samples. So I think we're going to see another kind of push like that. But again, this time we're really in uncharted territory this time.
Yeah.
And I think there's, and I'm not saying people should all just be whistleblowers and throw their careers away, but I think that we're going to see more people be coming forward. And I think there is a possibility for another kind of like Lou Elizondo person to come forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It only opens the door for more possibilities. So it doesn't have to necessarily meet every UFO researcher's expectations, and it's like, take what you can get. This is a victory, so take it, because there's progress coming from it. And it's a lot of people have this all or nothing mentality, and it's like you're not going to get very far with that. And we can see that how it's been the last 70 years. Look, what Lou and Chris have been doing. Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, and the small army probably behind them, helping them in whatever way they can. People behind the scenes, in office and out of office, and wherever, in intelligence, in contractors. We can definitely see in the 4 years since they've really said let's do this. It's we've seen more change than we have in 80 years. Yeah. So not that's like, and even you don't have to, again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing or all these extremes. You don't have to say let's just blindly follow these people. That's not what it's about, and nobody's advising that anybody do that. But it's clear that there's more transparency and progress. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely, man. There's a couple of things that I pulled out of the that small part of the Authorization Act. I think HR 4350 or whatever it's called. The two big things. Well, the first one is the fact that they're talking about biological effects openly now. Like, that was a sixth observable. That's huge. I mean, we've obviously had Lou talk about it in the past, but it goes back. People like Kit Green have talked about it. I mean, that opens it up to so many experiences and things like that. So it's not just military anymore.
I'd speculate, and I could just be speculating, obviously, that he's done more than talk about it. Right? I mean, people like that may have actually firsthand worked on it.
Absolutely.
And that's, again, that's physical data. That's like, this is real kind of stuff, and I think that, again, stuff like that has to sink in for some people. I mean, that's, how much more real can it get? We're talking about physical effects, biological effects. This is something physically real. That's not from a kind of refraction in a lens or a bird, right?
Absolutely.
You're not going to get this kind of biological effect from a seagull. I'm sorry. No offense to anybody, but, just putting it in perspective.
No, fully with you, man. I'm sure everyone else is, and that's what really stood out for me. I mean, yeah, just when you sit and think about it, because these people, I mean, so many people in historic cases have had physical, visible effects after encounters with UFOs and UAP.
Well, and John Burroughs, Jim
Oh,
Pennington too, but John Burroughs is documented. I mean, his medical records are classified. He had to fight like hell to
John
get those.
McCain, wasn't it? Didn't John McCain have to sort of step in and help him out?
Yeah, that's to for this man's medical records to save his life. Um, and he was able to get the help, thankfully, and the advice, but again, it was classified. So that's a biological effect that affected this man's life, and thankfully he was able to get help because there was some very small part of transparency, right? So
Yeah.
that transparency helped people. So that's an important thing. There could be other people having these effects that could need help too.
Yeah, totally, man. And then the other thing that really stood out for me was the fact that they are asking for all information from the agencies, from all the 3-letter agencies and the branches of military, to provide all information that they have. There's no time scale on it anymore. So that goes right back, in history. So anything that's not been provided already to the UAP task force has now got to be provided either to the task force now or the new office when it's set up. But that's saying, you've got to give us what you've got. So that could include Roswell, all the big cases, all the things, all the crash retrievals that have been speculated on. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be a tough one. Again, that's, where this whole classified issue is going to come in. And, fortunately, we have people like Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, Dr. Eric Davis and Dr. Hal Puthoff, in whatever, Dr. Kit Green and others in ways that they're legally allowed to help and kind of say, hey, you should probably look over there, like Christopher Mellon said that Dr. Eric Davis did, they said, you might want to look here when he gave a briefing to a defense agency in Washington. And, Mellon vetted that. So that's to me, the crown jewel, and also one of the most difficult issues that you're going to deal with, and it's like, I mean, you're taking on, the bull by the horns at that point, because that's, if all that is true, are some of these programs rogue, or some of them illegal, or some people, worried about their life to release any of this information? That's when you're getting into real muddy waters. Because in part, again, even if you just take somebody like Rick Doty, right?